In the quiet corners of European royalty, where tradition meets the gentle rhythms of age, a small but deeply meaningful event has unfolded, one that may not make the front pages of every newspaper, but which carries with it a heartfelt sense of family legacy and love. It concerns a woman many have quietly admired over the years, Irene of Greece, the younger sister of Queen Emeritus Sophia of Spain, a woman whose strength, loyalty, and devotion to her family have often gone unspoken but never unnoticed. And at the heart of this story is another familiar name, Infanta Cristina, daughter of Queen Sophia, who has managed to do something truly beautiful. She has convinced her aging aunt, the once vibrant and dignified Irene, to leave the comfort and seclusion of Zarzuela Palace and spend the summer by the sea, surrounded by those who love her most. It may seem like a small thing to encourage an elderly family member to leave the home they know so well for a few days of coastal air, but for anyone who has cared for someone in fragile health, who has watched a beloved parent, sibling, or spouse grow more dependent over time, this accomplishment speaks volumes. Infanta Cristina, a woman often portrayed in the press for matters unrelated to the tenderness of family bonds, has shown that her heart is firmly anchored in a place of loyalty and care. Her mission was simple: that her Aunt Irene would not spend the summer alone, confined to a room in Zarzuela Palace, distant from the world, and more painfully distant from the people who have loved her since her youth. In recent years, Irene of Greece has faced the slow but undeniable toll of time. Her memory, once sharp, has faded. Her body, once steady and graceful, now relies on the quiet wheels of a chair. Public appearances have become rare, and photographs fewer still. She is not the regal figure she once was at international galas or state banquets. She is now something more intimate, more human, a sister, an aunt, a woman living in the vulnerable twilight of life. And as her world grew smaller, Queen Sophia's devotion to her sister grew ever deeper. In fact, this summer Queen Sophia had seriously considered canceling her annual trip to the Meravent Palace in Majorca, something that had been tradition for decades. She had told those closest to her in a quiet moment behind closed doors, "I prefer not to go. I want to be close to Irene." It is a sentiment many of us understand with aching clarity. When someone we love grows frail, we too reconsider our habits, our travels, and even our joys. Queen Sophia, ever the stoic public figure, was ready to set aside her own comfort and her beloved summer retreat to remain near her sister, to be at her side in case she needed her. There is something profoundly moving in that two sisters both well into their golden years, clinging to the bond that age cannot unravel. But Christina, perhaps sensing that both women needed more than the silence of the palace halls, took a different view. She gently stepped forward, not to contradict her mother, but to encourage her. Christina knew that Irene deserved more than the sterile routine of a royal residence. She deserved sunshine, the smell of salt on the breeze, the laughter of family around a dinner table, and the chance to feel, even just for a while, part of something joyful again. And so Christina did what many devoted daughters and nieces have done before her. She organized, she persuaded, and she inspired action. She spoke first with her mother, Queen Sophia, then with her Aunt Irene, and finally with her sister Infanta Elena, drawing them all into the plan. The women, once fixtures of global royalty, now found themselves focused not on diplomacy or appearances, but on something far more real: how to give Irene a few beautiful days in the company of family in the gentle light of the Balearic coast. It was agreed that they would accompany her to Meravent Palace, making sure she was never alone, never afraid, and never without love. It had been years since Christina and Elena had both traveled to Majorca for the summer. Life, as it tends to do, had taken them in different directions, scattered them with commitments and complications. But this year was different. This year was about returning not just to a place, but to a purpose: to be daughters, to be nieces, to be a family. And they would not be coming alone. Christina's children, who have grown up under the sometimes harsh glare of public life, have also chosen to join. There's something deeply comforting in that: the presence of grandchildren, of youthful voices and laughter around an older woman who may not remember every name or every story, but who will feel in her bones the love of her bloodline near her once again. If all goes to plan, this summer at Meravent will be one of the most tender and emotional Queen Sophia has ever known. She will be there with her sister Irene, as well as with her two daughters and her grandchildren. they may not have the full royal tableau. King Felipe VI and Queen Letizia are expected to arrive at a separate time, their complicated relationship with Felipe's sisters still casting long shadows. There will be no official family photo, no grand posed portraits for the press. But none of that matters. Not to Sofia, not to Cristina. What matters is that the heart of the family will be beating again under one roof, if only for a while. It is worth noting that Cristina, in orchestrating this quiet reunion, has done something truly graceful. She has reminded everyone, not just within her family, but perhaps those of us watching from afar, of the power of presence, the healing found in simply showing up for those we love. She has made sure that Irene, though weakened in body and spirit, will know she is not forgotten, that her presence still matters, that she belongs not just in memory, but in the moment. Sometimes the truest acts of love are the ones that happen off stage, away from the cameras and headlines. They are the conversations held in hushed voices at twilight, the whispered reassurances, the careful packing of medications, and the coordination of wheelchairs on seaside patios. They are not always grand, but they are always grand in meaning. In the twilight of life, when the world grows quieter and days move more slowly, there is nothing more precious than the embrace of family. And this summer, thanks to a determined niece and a devoted mother, Irene of Greece will not sit alone in a palace room remembering the past. She will sit by the sea with the warm sun on her skin, surrounded by the voices of those who carry her legacy forward. As we reflect on stories like this, especially those of us who understand the ache of time, who have seen the fragility of those we love, we are reminded that love is not measured in grand gestures or official photographs. It is measured in presence, in patience, in the simple, steadfast choice to stay close. And this summer, in the gentle corners of Infanta Palace, love will be felt in every quiet conversation, every shared meal, and every breeze that carries a smile across the patio to a woman named Irene, who will know perhaps more deeply than ever that she is home. And while the world outside may focus on royal protocol, political decisions, or headlines about distant heirs for Queen Sofia and her sister Irene, what matters now is not titles or duties, but the warmth of shared memories and the comfort of familiar voices. In truth, few people truly understand the emotional gravity that comes with aging in such a public role. Behind the jewels, the palaces, and the ceremonies are women who have endured wars, exiles, political shifts, and family heartbreaks. Their lives, though privileged in some ways, have also been shaped by deep personal sacrifice and the quiet burden of duty. And now, in the gentle stillness of later years, their bond as sisters is what remains steadfast. There's a particular image that comes to mind, perhaps a warm afternoon in Mallorca. Irene sitting near the edge of a shaded veranda, a thin shawl wrapped gently around her shoulders, the sound of children laughing in the garden just beyond the hedges, while Sofia reads quietly nearby. Maybe at times Irene forgets where she is or what day it is, but she won't forget how it feels to be safe, to be loved, to be part of something living and real. Cristina has ensured that this moment could happen not for headlines, not for recognition, but because she understands what truly matters in a family. She knows that even the smallest gestures, a shared cup of tea, a familiar lullaby hummed in the afternoon, can become sacred acts when offered to someone at the end of life's long road. And perhaps by bringing the family together, she's also healing parts of herself. There's something beautifully cyclical in all of this, how the younger generation now rises to care for the one that raised them. How children become caretakers, nieces become protectors, and daughters become the soft, steady presence that aging mothers and aunts need. In doing so, Cristina has reminded many of us that aging is not an ending, but a return to connection to truth, to love, stripped of all pretense. So this summer in Marivent may not be filled with flashing cameras or royal banquets. It will not be the setting of grand declarations or televised speeches. But it will be filled with meaning, with small, profound moments, with the sort of love that sustains us when memory fades and strength diminishes. And for Irene of Greece, it will be a gentle and loving reminder that even as the body changes and the mind becomes foggy, she is still cherished, still seen, and still part of her family's heart. And perhaps that is the real legacy of royalty, not the crowns, but the quiet loyalty that endures when everything else falls away.